used to live in a room full of mirrors. All I could see was me. Well, I take my spirit and I...
Is every artist that comes out part of the Illuminati now? I can see how people could deflect it and think, oh God, this is such bullshit. But then, because that's exactly how I thought. Until I shifted my perspective on things and the way I see it. And I started to think, well, if Hollywood was built by secret societies, why would it be so hard to believe that these things like Satanism and mind control, it goes hand in hand? So why is it a shock that why is it a shock, not we, let me speak on my behalf. Why was it a shock to me, or something that I found hard to believe at first? And the way they do this is through, like I said, mind control. And with mind control comes multiple personality disorder. And that's very common in Hollywood, where you have actors, actresses, musicians, and or comedians, whoever, who are one of three things. You have the robots. We'll start at the bottom of the pyramid here. We have the robots. Those are the people who are under the mind control and who have been made into basically monarch mind control victims. And by monarch, that means they have multiple personalities that someone implants in them, and we'll get to that level. The second level would be the handlers. The handlers are people who were once robots and are now just a higher level of robot, where they're put in charge of watching over, the handlers watch over the robots to make sure they do what they're supposed to do and keep them in line. And above the handler, you have the programmers. Now, the programmers obviously program the handlers, and they also program the lower levels, which are the robots. And I guess if we're going to talk about that, I need to clarify robots. This might sound like crazy jumble. And so let me explain exactly, give you some examples of who the robots are. And these are just a few names. We have Roseanne Barr. There was the country singer Loretta Lynn, Elvis Presley, and we'll talk about his handler also. Marilyn Monroe, Charles Manson, Nicki Minaj, and even Wayne Newton, the Las Vegas singer. Him, and I would even throw Kanye West into that category also. These are the robots, the people that are put in front of us, who through music, they reach masses of people. Their music is heard on the radio. You download their music. You read them. You read about them online. You see their faces online, constantly blasted in your face. That is one of the oldest forms of mind control that they've been using, and it goes as far back as, like I said, Elvis Presley was one of the first solo artists to be used for mind control, and the Beatles were the first group. I believe that the Beatles, their introduction to the world also brought a new word into our vocabulary, which is teenager. I know it sounds crazy. You think that was a word that's been around since the beginning of time, but the Beatles craze created the word. It was during their craze that the word teenager came about, and that is the general target for that mind control music. Handlers now, people that watch over them. Who I know are handlers. Bob Hope. Bob Hope was definitely a handler. Ed Sullivan, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Elvis Presley. His manager was his handler. He called himself Colonel Tom Parker. He wasn't really in the army, so that was kind of weird. These are the people who are under you constantly. They follow you around. They're the ones signing your contracts. They take over your life. I remember reading an article where even Elvis's wife was talking about how much control Colonel Tom Parker had over Elvis, that it was disturbing. We know that Elvis had multiple personalities, and I've mentioned this in another video. One of them was John Burroughs. I don't know if that came before or after he went to the army, but just think about how many people his music reached. And you say, how you probably wonder, how can you do mind control through music? Through lyrics, through sound, frequency, and during the recording process, there is a sort of like this psychic, telepathic sort of thing that they do, where it's transference of messages that, from the mind to the cassette, the reel to reel, as it's recording. This is something that I learned from reading a book by Preston Nichols, Music of Time. Very, very fascinating book. So, a programmer. Yes, I think Billy Graham is a programmer. I write about him on my blog, The Chrononaut Report, in an article called Top 5 Corrupted TV Evangelists. He has reach and he has power, man. That's a scary thing. I grew up watching, being subjected to Billy Graham specials when that shut down like the highest rated shows. If he was having an event, forget watching 18, forget watching Knight Rider, forget all that. Billy Graham had like carte blanche, he had dibs on any time slot. The only other person I could see that could do that was the president, and that was for like one of those messages, those speeches. And Billy Graham could shut down television, any network he wanted. It was crazy.